to our panel discussion with Harvard Summer School students and a proctor from this past summer. My name is Corinne Canning, and I'll be your panel moderator today. Tonight, we will briefly dive into our Harvard Summer School program options and then explore the day in the life of a Harvard Summer School student through a live panel discussion with our three panelists, Alexis, Daniel, and Amy. Before we begin the panel, I'm going to give everyone a quick overview of our college programs for high school students to make sure that everyone has the context they need about the programs we'll be discussing during the panel. In our programs, students take college-level courses taught by Harvard instructors, getting to experience what Ivy League university academics are really like. In your rigorous courses, you could get a sneak peek into the fascinating world of neuroscience, learn the basics of coding to get a head start on a career in software, study constitutional law, the art of fairy tales, the magic of screenwriting, and so much more. Whatever course you decide to pursue, you will be immersed in your academic interests alongside peers who share your intellectual curiosity. Our students come from nearly all 50 states and 70+ countries to attend Harvard Summer School. So through your Harvard Summer School program, you will meet new friends from around the world and build important life skills that can make your future college experience successful, all while strengthening your college application. Completing a Harvard Summer School program can help with college admissions in several ways. You'll demonstrate to the admissions committees your ability to succeed in a rigorous college course. You'll gain tools to navigate the college admissions process successfully through our college readiness activities, such as workshops on how to write your college admissions essay and panels on how to choose the right college for you. We also host a series of panels with admissions officers so our students can hear directly from them about what they are looking for in a college application. You can also use your experience here at Harvard Summer School as inspiration for a college essay. Many students say their programs gave them confidence or inspired them to pursue a certain field of study. While here, you will also gain invaluable experience, getting to test drive what it means to be a college student before you actually go to college, growing in both independence and in confidence. You'll have to keep track of assignments, ask for help from instructors, or perhaps do things for the first time, like laundry or traveling alone. But you'll also get to control your schedule, deciding when to study, when you want to do things in your free time, and where to explore in the greater Boston area. In program activities and independently, our students have enjoyed exploring world-class museums like the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum, popular destinations like Martha's Vineyard, seeing the Red Sox baseball games at Fenway Park, guided walking tours of historic sites in Boston, giving back through volunteer opportunities with local organizations, and more. We have 3 great program options you'll get to experience. You just have to choose which one is right for you. We have the 2-week pre-college program, where you'll take 1 non-credit course and live on campus for 2 weeks. We have a 4-credit, 4-week secondary school program, where you'll take 1 4-credit course and live on campus for 4 weeks. And finally, we have a flexible 7-week secondary school program where you can choose to live on campus, commute from home, or study 100% online in 1 or 2 full credit courses. Whichever program you decide to apply to attend, know that when you come to Harvard in the summer as a high school student, you are a Harvard student, and you do have access to all the facilities and resources of the university. We are going to post a link in the chat right now to our program comparison guide, so you can see our program information at a glance. I encourage you to look at it, download it, and enjoy it. All of our programs require students to be at least 16 years old by June 21st, 2025, and not turn 19 years old before July 31st, 2025. Our 2-week pre-college program accepts applications from current high school sophomores and juniors, meaning students graduating from high school in 2026 or 2027. Our 4-week and 7-week secondary school programs accept applications from current high school sophomores, juniors, and seniors, meaning students graduating from high school in 2025, 2026, or 2027. If you are an international student, meaning a student who is not a U.S. citizen or a real resident, please be advised that our programs have different visa requirements, so we encourage you to visit our website to see their options. We are going to post that link in the chat now, so you can go there to see which is required for each visa type. And lastly, it is important to note that need-based financial scholarships are available to U.S. citizens and permanent residents only. I hope this provides context and answers to some questions, but we are also doing a webinar on November 18th that will dig more into our programs and the application process. Everyone here will receive an invite to that webinar. And now I'm going to introduce to you three very special people, two former students and a former proctor from this past summer. So let's start with Alexis, who served as one of our pre-college program proctors this past summer. Alexis, in addition to being a proctor, you previously attended the pre-college program as a student, is that correct?
Yes, I did the online program in 2021 and then an in-person program in 2022. And then, yeah, this past summer I was a proctor. I'm sorry, I'm from Warren, Michigan, originally, which is right around Detroit, and I'm currently a sophomore at Michigan State University studying women's and gender studies with a concentration in sexual conflict and violence. My favorite memory as a student at the pre-college program was the co-curricular activities that were offered, especially the trip to Newport, Rhode Island. I had a really great time doing that one. And then I wanted to become a proctor because I had such a positive and fun experience as a student, and I wanted to be able to pass that on to other students.
I love that. That's such a great reason to become a proctor. And we're going to talk a little bit more about how and why you became a proctor later, but thank you for sharing that. Next, we'll welcome Daniel, who attended our 4-week secondary school program this past summer. But Daniel, you previously also attended the 2-week pre-college program, is that correct?
Yes, I attended the pre-college program in 2022, so 2 years ago. And then I just finished up the 4-week summer school program just this summer. I'm from Groton, Massachusetts, so about an hour from campus in Cambridge. I'm currently a high school senior, and I was interested in attending the Harvard Summer School to be in an environment of like-minded people, so people who are driven by academics. And then my favorite memory at the program was just meeting people from around the world, and then going exploring different restaurants in the Boston and greater Boston area, and then having ice cream at Insomnia Cookies, which is right near Harvard's campus.
Thank you, Daniel. Yeah, Insomnia is a fan favorite around here in Harvard Yard, so fantastic. And finally, last but not least, please everyone welcome Amy, who attended our 7-week secondary school program online this past summer. Amy, would you please tell us a little about yourself?
Of course. Hello, everyone. My name is Amy. I'm a grade 12 student living in Toronto, Canada, a senior now, as Americans call it. But I applied for Harvard Summer School during grade 11, and which was my junior year. I'm really excited to see there was a lot of international students here, as yeah, I'm a bit further than all the other people, other students who were just talking. And the memories from Harvard Summer School, I remember when I was an international applicant applying, I only knew one other person who went. So I was really confused about what was going on from the applications to the actual classes. And I knew more about the in-person classes from all these things I was learning from the discussions that I was watching as well, like you guys. And it's really good that you guys are joining this to learn about this. Out of all of the summer programs that I was applying for, I chose Harvard because I wanted to grow academically during the break. And I really like the university values. And it was also my dream university to attend. So, of course, I believe it would look best on my application to Harvard University. I took the Psychology of Diversity course and met so many unique and brilliant people living and working around the world. We had very insightful, interesting conversations every day about psychology topics that I was super passionate about, and above that, how to study in a university setting. Overall, Harvard's SSP was definitely a valuable experience I would never forget.
Awesome. Thank you, Amy. It is really great to have a little bit of that online experience come through here. So I think our attendees will be very curious to hear your perspective. So now that our attendees know each about each of you, let's dive right in. So let's start with the question that I think everyone wants to know. So how did your experience at Harvard Summer School impact you? Did your program push you outside of your comfort zone? Did it help you grow? Amy, since I have you, let's start with you.
So, on my first day of the Psychology of Diversity course, I was shocked because all my classmates were so diverse, yet unitedly passionate and knowledgeable in their fields about diversity. And note that only on-campus SSP courses put students of similar ages together. When you're doing online, it's available to every person of any age, and I did not know this. I was really shocked on my first day. So then among the 26 people in my psychology class, there was a Harvard's admissions officer, Harvard's research staff, a military veteran, and a financial analyzer, to name a few. And I felt singled out because of this, because I was just a high school student without a high school diploma yet, and let alone a PhD like many of my classmates. So that really challenged me. I felt like so singled out. And at first, it was very frightening to be the youngest, but by pushing myself to talk to everyone and with their constant support, it was very engaging in class. I grew a really strong confidence in my ideas and opinions. And other than learning in depth into the world of human behavior with an amazing professor, I also exponentially grew my public speaking skills because the class was so engaging, constantly valuing my opinions and making me want to speak, though I was super shy at first in front of all these super smart people. So now back in school, I'm like a founder of two clubs and I can speak so much better in front of them, even though the year before I was like so shy all the time. It was a bit embarrassing. But today I even led like my own meeting in front of so many people and doing this with pure confidence. I'm like happy it's all thanks to SSP. So lastly, of course, in by having all of the diverse people with many different ages in my class, I got to network and be friends with them, and they gave me a lot of advice on my career and studies.
That's amazing, Amy. That's so great to hear that that your experience in classes with people of different ages really pushed you and helped you grow in your confidence level. That's fantastic. Let's talk to Daniel. Daniel, how did your recent experience in the secondary school program and then, of course, your past experience in the pre-college program kind of push you outside of your comfort zone or help you grow?
Yeah, so after I took the pre-college program a little over 2 years ago, it basically opened my eyes to basically meeting other people who were also driven by academics. And outside of my public school, there's a vast group of people, even my age, fellow teenagers of mine that were motivated by academics and also had a desire to learn and wanted to learn. And inside the classroom was not something they were turned away from, but they wanted to approach learning and wanted to become interested in a very specific topic. So that was the biggest thing for me. And then through that experience, I'll touch on it a little later in the webinar. But through the experience, I was able to work with a Harvard summer school instructor as a research assistant for him, and I've been helping him with research. So it really pushed me basically to see what's out there, and even as a teenager, not even someone in college yet, there's so many opportunities out there for us. And being like taking rigorous classes through Harvard, through different readings and exploring what's out there.
That's really awesome, Daniel. It sounds like you definitely took advantage of every opportunity available to you in both programs you took. So that's fantastic. Alexis, I'd love to hear from you how you feel like the pre-college program impacted you personally, especially because you came and became a proctor. I'd love to hear how you felt like it impacted you.
Yeah, my favorite thing about it was that I got to explore a subject that really interested me, but that wasn't offered at my high school or my dual enrollment institution, which I think we'll talk about more later. And I got to see what it was like living on my own, so I got to kind of catch the bad habits that I might want to break, or like habits that I want to start before I actually went to college, if that makes sense. So got to see like what I needed to work on before I actually was thrown into the college life, which was really helpful, really beneficial, I think.
That's awesome. I have a couple of follow-up questions for you, actually, while we're on that note. You talked about living on your own. Can you talk to us a little bit about what a proctor is? Because while you do live on your own on campus, there are proctors and of course our wonderful staff here. So I'd love to talk to you about what that is and kind of what training you get as a proctor to ensure students get the most out of their experience when they are on campus here.
Yeah. So proctors are kind of like RAs, if anyone knows what that is. It's kind of like a live-in advisor. Every student is assigned to a proctor. And they're kind of the first resource that you'll go to with questions or problems, or who you'll check in for curfew with. We plan events for our residents, so we all get to know each other. And we chaperone all the trips and the co-curricular activities that are part of the program. We go through a lot of training, and we learn how to deal with pretty much any situation that students might have, whether it's problems with like classes or co-curricular activities, the resources that are available to students, and how to, redirect students to whatever they might need. Also how to handle some difficult situations like roommate disagreements or homesickness. Yeah, proctors are fully equipped with knowledge of how to support students in pretty much every way that they might need while they're there.
That's fantastic, Alexa. It's really good to know that no matter while students are growing their independence and learning how to grow beyond their own, they do also always have that support. That's super important. So our next question is like a really popular one. So I would love to know from each of you, how did you decide which program to apply to? The 2-week pre-college program, the 4-week secondary school program, the 7-week secondary school program? Was there a particular factor that helped you decide? Let's start with you, Amy. Why did you decide to do the 7-week secondary school program? And why did you decide to do it online? Because there are several options.
Yeah, so firstly, I applied to many summer programs the summer before and eventually decided that Harvard's SSP online was the best option in terms of the financial availability, the value, and my schedule in the summer. And that basically means SSP online was a lot financially more available to me than many of the other programs in many other universities, and also the in-person and 7-week in-person, the 4-week and 7-week in-person. And it was also a lot more valuable to me than most of the other programs and options because I got to learn a topic I was really interested in because my course was only available online at that time. And it was the teacher that was part of my course was teachers in general for Harvard was people that you could trust, unlike some summer programs where you don't really know if they'll give you the value that they promise. It took a long time to decide between all the programs that I could go into. And because of that, I missed the popular 4-week program sign up. So that's why I decided to do 7-week. So don't be like me, always try to apply as soon as you can. So you can just pick whenever you want at the end. And by the time I applied for 7-week, I could only choose between in-person or online. So then I picked online because I couldn't imagine myself spending my last year of high school in another country than all my friends and then not being able to hang out with them. So then I decided to stay online to hang out with them. And I feel like that was destined to be because I did get to hang out a lot with them. I got to work on many other things at home. And while studying, I was in the comfort of my own house. So I would really recommend that if you were a senior and you want to go through that kind of summer experience as well. But if you want to do in person, I would recommend you doing that in your junior year, but that's obviously your own choice.
Thanks, Amy. I think that's really great advice and helpful, I think, for people making that decision. Daniel, can we talk about your decision-making process? So how did you decide which program was right for you both times you decided to apply?
Yeah, so 2 years ago, I decided to enroll in or apply to the pre-college program. So just because it was a 2-week program, and at that point, I wasn't really set on like what I want to pursue as a career or even a major in college. So I really just wanted to explore without the pressure of being at a program for 7 weeks or even 4 weeks. So I choose to enroll in the 2-week program just to try out a course. But even just being there for 2 weeks, it's about a semester's worth of credit or a semester's worth of content in 2 weeks. So I learned a great vast amount of information and knowledge on astrobiology. And then when I decided to apply to the program this year, I decided on the 4-week program. And I was between the 4-week program or the 7-week program. Both of them you earn college credit. And then I decided upon the 4-week program just because it's a more shortened amount of time. But even within that, I chose because it solidified my interest in pursuing economics in college. I decided on an economic inequality course. And then also in 4 weeks, I learned a great deal of knowledge. And we had a TA, and our professor was always helpful after class. So, I mean, both times, whatever course you choose, you're still going to get a great quality education. If you want college credit, the 4-week and the 7-week are great options.
That's awesome, Daniel. Super, super helpful. I think especially for people trying to decide which ones may be right for them between our two residential options. So Alexis, I'd love to hear from you about your decision-making process when you attended the pre-college program as a student. And then I'd also love to hear if, as a proctor, you have any advice for future students to help them decide.
Yeah, so my decision was kind of based on the fact that I didn't want to feel like I didn't really have a summer break. So 2 weeks seemed like a good period of time to still get that experience of taking this really cool class and getting to live on my own, but also not missing out on too much of the break over the summer. And then as far as advice, a lot of my students had trouble when they were doing the 2 week program, had some trouble with like establishing a solid routine while they were there. And a lot of them said that by the time the 2 weeks was over, like they finally get a routine and then, they go home because it's only 2 weeks. Um, also a lot of homesickness and burnout. A lot of students did like 2 or 3 consecutive 2 week programs. And they said like as much fun as I'm having, like I'm kind of ready to go home. So I think that is something to take into consideration, especially if you also want to feel like you have a summer break and not like you're kind of like go all summer.
That's super helpful, Alexis. I think that's going to be super helpful for people trying to make that decision, especially now that you've heard it kind of firsthand from all three of our panelists about what program was right for them. So now I'd love to ask all of you who have attended tonight, will you share with us what program you're currently interested in applying for? This is non-binding, of course. We're just curious. We want to know like if you've figured it out yet, or if you're still kind of deciding. All answers are valid. So wow, we got some lots of variety coming in. So I'll leave that open for a little bit so you guys can keep making your decisions. So while we're waiting for that to keep going, let's go on with our panel discussion. I'd love to transition to start talking about the academic experience at Harvard Summer School. And I'd love to ask our panelists, what course or courses did you take during your most recent program? And why did you choose these areas of study? Amy, I'd love if you could go first.
Perfect. I took the Psychology of Diversity course, like I mentioned, with Professor Dr. Weismark. In this class, I studied how stereotyping is a human's natural habit, how to change habits, and the best way to work through arguments, to name a few. And the class was the most engaging class that I've been in personally, with everyone with many different experiences contributing their perspectives, teaching me as well how diverse everyone's experiences, perspectives, and mindsets were. And obviously, then this course was titled The Psychology of Diversity. I chose to do this course because of two reasons. One, I love psychology. I'm always analyzing human behavior myself and coming up with theories that I find out are true later on. And two, I love culture. I've lived in 3 different countries, all with different cultures. And with my love for psychology, I've always been analyzing all of the 3 countries I've lived in's uniqueness. So I chose this course that combined both of what I loved into something that I could study in depth. And if I would recommend doing this, if you guys aren't sure about what your courses are going to be, just merge 2 things that you're really interested in. And because also, last advice for like kind of that is to read about your teacher when you're choosing your course. I also chose this course for a key reason that my teacher studied at all 3 universities that I wanted to go to in the future. So I was able to connect with her and ask her about her advice going to these universities, and she helped me with my application and that's one of the other reasons that I also chose this course.
Oh, that's awesome, Amy. Yeah, our faculty here are just so dedicated to making sure that their students succeed, including our Harvard Summer School students. So I'm really glad that you had that experience and were able to share it with us tonight. So thank you. Daniel, I'd love to hear about you and the courses that you've taken here at Harvard Summer School and kind of why you chose them.
Yeah, so over the summer in the 4 week program, I took a course on economic inequality and primarily analyzing economic inequality in the United States and proposing policy intervention that would help to alleviate the inequality. And as Amy was saying, so this is a topic I've been interested in for a while. I've taken a principles of economics course in the past through the Harvard Extension School. But even within economics, it's such a vast field. So when I saw economic inequality, it really intrigued me. And then looking into the professor, he did his PhD dissertation on the topic, and he's a professor now at a local college, and he teaches on economic inequality. So he's a top expert in the field, and just getting the ability to learn from him directly, asking him questions and him grading our papers directly, it was a very invaluable experience to me. Not to mention in the course itself, he gave us great, it was a lecture class. But we, even within that, attending office hours, asking him questions, the opportunity opened me to learn about the field. Even him helping us, teaching us how to collect data, analyze the data, and present the data. It was very intriguing for me because I want to eventually go into an economic analyst role in the future. So this gave me a great founding for that.
That's awesome. Thank you, Daniel. It's great to hear about all the different opportunities available and all the research opportunities in that course. That's fantastic. Alexis, what about you? Prior to being a proctor, what courses did you take when you attended the program, and kind of what motivated you to take those courses?
Yeah, so the first online class that I took in 2021 was Introduction to Women's and Gender and Sexuality Studies, which I knew I was very interested in, but again, it wasn't offered at my high school or the community college I did dual enrollment in, or at when I was in high school. So I really wanted to kind of get a somewhat quick introduction to that topic to see if it was actually something that I wanted to pursue in college. And I am a gender studies major actually now, so it went pretty well. And then the second program, the in-person program I did was called Medicine and Society, which medical sociology was kind of slightly touched on in the introduction to gender studies course. But I thought it would be particularly interesting because it was the first program in person since COVID happened. So I thought it would be kind of topical, and it was. So it was very, very fun.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, definitely topical, especially during the years that you attended, for sure. So I'd love to dive a little deeper on this topic while I have you. So Alexis, like, how challenging did you find the courses? What were you expecting, kind of like versus when you got here? And then did your course, I mean, we talked about how it helped you kind of decide on your major, so that's fantastic. But did you find that the coursework was similar when you went to your university, or how that going?
Yeah, so because they were both social science classes, there was a lot of reading and writing homework, which can be challenging at times, but because it was a topic that I was actually interested in, it was actually really fun to do all that reading. And yeah, after taking now, like having taken a like semester-long intro to gender studies course, I learned pretty much the same amount in that 1-2 week class that as I did in the semester-long one because of how much homework. Which is not always a bad thing. It kind of touched on every topic within women's and gender and sexuality studies, but like very lightly, and a lot of like, oh, what is that? Like basic like principal readings in that subject, which was really nice to have that kind of context when I actually did transition into that as a major.
That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that, Alexis. It sounds like your pre-college experience really prepared you well to pursue your major in college. So that's great to hear. Daniel, how about you? How did you find the coursework?
Yeah, so as Alexis was saying, it's a lot of work. You'll have a lot of readings, depending on what course you take, it will be the problem sets or readings or like assignments. So there's a lot of readings or long readings, but such an interesting topic. So for the class you sign up for, all the readings, everything obviously will be centered towards that class. So it's always very intriguing to read and to discuss with students. I mean, after doing a reading, I'll talk with a friend for like an hour or two about the paper itself, just discussing it, and then also having the opportunity to really delve into the topics that interest us the most. So mine was on economic inequality in my class. So then for our final research project, I spent countless hours analyzing data, collecting data, building like emission calculators to present my data in a graph. So it's a lot of work, but I mean, it's great. It's really fun. Like you'll be with friends at Widener Library for several hours doing work, but then it's also hanging out with friends, getting study breaks at the brain break, which is offered every night on the week, going to Annenberg Hall to get snack breaks. So it's a lot of work, but it's also a lot of fun at the same time.
That's awesome, Daniel. Yeah, definitely a culture of learning here at Harvard, to say the least. So that's fantastic. And Amy, how about you? How did you find your online course?
So I found my psychology of diversity course actually a lot less challenging than I thought it was going to be. It was better than the IB program courses that I take in high school. If anyone here is taking IB, I remember the first day of classes, and then the TA was telling me I can try doing my assignment again until I get the mark I wanted. And I was so surprised because my teachers at school would never were really strict about that, and the TAs at Harvard was a lot sweeter and kinder. How I expected like someone who wants to grow an academic mindset in the students acts like. But of course, I still needed a lot of time to learn how to write my homework in a university format and adjusting to the 6:30 p.m. 3-hour lectures that I had. And other than the structure, learning material, the fast pace was what I do every day at school, and I found the topics a lot more enjoyable sometimes. So I did not find the Harvard course too challenging at all. Taking the psychology course definitely showed me my passion and love to study psychology. I was thinking about it previously too, but now I'm sure after my experience at SSP. And also from that experience, I feel like I know how to study psychology well. And so I'm going to be applying for a minor in psychology.
Oh,
Because,
that's
yeah.
That's great. I'm glad that your experience here has helped you decide what to study and that you found that the culture here was super supportive of our learners. That's fantastic. So while I have you, I'd love to ask you what a typical day was like for you as a student in the program. Kind of like talk me through a day in your life. And while I have you, Amy, let's start with you.
Yeah, yeah.
Since
As
you were on 7 week online, what did you kind of do to feel more connected to campus? Did you do any of the online activities that are offered through our online program? Would just love to hear about your day.
Perfect. Yeah, of course. As an online student, like I mentioned, I had classes in the evening on Tuesdays and Thursdays for 3 hours. And for my work, like time I had to work outside of class, before each class, I would just work on any homework they assigned me 3 to 5 hours, just the day before or like a few hours before. And even when the midterms and final assignments came out, I was still only working 3 to 5 hours, like the Wednesday in between or the weekend, because they allowed us to have less assignments during those the big assessment times. And other than those times when I was working on it myself, SSP also provides a writing center online where you can submit your work, and then a really professional English tutor will come and read over your work and give you advice. And I found that really helpful because I didn't know what a university format writing would look like. And they basically showed me how to write university level style, which I use in my high school learnings right now. And other than all the academics that I was doing, like you said, it was hard to feel like I belonged when everyone was a lot older than me. And I couldn't really talk to them behind the screen as well, one-on-one, like you could in person. So I went to some online SSP Zoom hangouts, is what they called it, and met with a lot of other offline SSP high school students, and I got to chat with them. And because we couldn't really talk one-on-one outside either, made this forum where we could chat outside of class. And because of that, I got to meet a lot of other students my age. And also, in the small moments I had in class, I was able to make connections with some of the people in class. So in the end, I didn't feel that left out. And during the day when I wasn't doing any assignments or meeting with my friends for SSP, I was hanging out with my friends in Canada. So it was a good experience day to day.
Sounds like you struck a really great balance. And I'm really glad that you took advantage of a lot of the Harvard University resources. The Writing Center is fantastic. And then, of course, I'm glad that you took advantage of some of the online activities provided by SSP for our online students. I think that's awesome and a great way to build community for our online students. So Daniel, how about you? Will you walk me through kind of a day in your life during the program?
Yeah, so I had a class right in the morning, which was very nice. A good start of the day and to get class over with, which was over by 11 a.m. And then from then to when Annenberg opened at noon, I would just hang out with friends either in the Science Center Plaza, which is an open area right under sun, or we were just hanging out in Harvard Yard, which is always very nice. Just hanging out there to basically debrief, talk about how class was, and then we would head to Annenberg for lunch. We would always have like a nice lunch. We always like spend like an hour, 2 hours there just having lunch, talking. And then after that, we would head to either Widener Library or the Science Center to get some work done. We would do work there for a couple hours, but even during that, we would do work and then also just talk for like half an hour. So it's always a good balance. And then we would either go to Harvard Square to get a drink or a snack, We would do some more work, and then there's a volleyball sand court right on Harvard's campus. So a lot of my friends and I, we would go to the court a lot to play volleyball. I've never played volleyball before. I'm not great at it, but it was still a great time. And then after that, we would either do some more work and then head to Annenberg for dinner, or sometimes you would go into Boston to Newbury Street for dinner. We'd go out to a restaurant and they'll get back to campus. And then, as I previously mentioned, Harvard hosts a brain break. So I believe it's from 8 to 10 p.m. at night. And it's hosted in Annenberg Hall, which is where you'll have all your dinners and lunches. And it's just going to, I mean, as the name suggests, to get a break from work, to have a snack, cookies, and just meet new people.
That's awesome. Definitely sounds like you've made the most of your time here and explored all of Boston, which is great. That's one of our major attractions, I think, of course, is having historic Boston right outside of your doorstep. And then Alexis, I'd love to hear from you. What was your typical day like, both as a proctor and previously as a student?
Yeah, every day as a proctor is kind of different. There's always like different meetings with our residents and then staff meetings and chaperoning all these trips, but it was kind of, I really enjoyed it like that because then I feel like I had a lot more freedom in what I did day to day. And I was able to explore more of Cambridge and the Boston area than when I was a student, which was one of my biggest regrets when I left the program as a student. I felt like I kind of didn't do as much as I could have. And then as a student, in the morning, I kind of just finished up my readings before I went to breakfast. My proctor actually told me to never take your textbook to the dining hall to have that kind of separation and that like me time. And then I just go to class and do the co-curricular activities, start on the next readings. And I really loved walking around Cambridge, especially at night on the bridge right by Dunster. I loved seeing all the lights out on the water. It was really pretty.
Yeah, it is really gorgeous here, especially in the summer. I totally agree. Thank you for that, Alexis. I actually have a follow-up question here for you and Daniel. Some of our attendees would like to know what are dining halls like? You guys have talked a little bit about Annenberg Hall, but we do have a couple of other dining halls here on campus. So what are they like? And then, of course, there's another question about what was your favorite place to eat outside of the dining halls? I know, Daniel, you mentioned Zomnia cookies, but if you have another one.
Yeah, during my first or my in-person program, we ate at Lowell House's dining hall, but I don't think that's typical. Now I believe all summer school students eat at Annenberg Hall, which is the hall that kind of looks like Harry Potter. It's really pretty. I have like kind of an obsession with stained glass windows, and there are so many in Annenberg. It's beautiful. And I really love the salad bar, and they also have a lot of options for like vegan, gluten-free, halal, kosher. They're very inclusive of the kinds of food that they have. And then my favorite place that was not the dining hall was Tasty Burger. I think it was on like JFK Street. They have like the best chicken sandwich I've ever eaten. And I don't even eat meat that often, but it's also open late, which is very convenient if you ever like accidentally fall asleep and wake up and oops, the dining hall's closed.
Awesome. Thank you, Alexis. Daniel, how about you?
Yeah, so Annenberg Hall, which is where all students will have all their meals, right on Harvard's campus. I mean, as Alexis pointed out, it's very beautiful inside. The architecture is phenomenal. But in addition to that, there's a lot of food options. You'll always find something to eat. There's always a grill bar where they're making something special from the grill. They'll have the main entree, many different options. They'll always have a salad bar with plentiful of things to eat. And there's also typically right outside the main dining hall area, there's either a nacho bar. Sometime there was a potato bar, so it's potatoes, sour cream, like chai, stuff to top it with. Then also there's always soft serve ice cream, which was my favorite to have. And then a lot of times on every Sunday there'll be hard ice cream and a whole ice cream sundae bar with hot fudge, caramel, anything you can imagine. And then outside of Annenberg, outside of Harvard dining halls, there was I don't know the name of it, but really any place on Newbury Street, there's tons of great restaurants there, and also even staying more local near Harvard's campus, Harvard Square. You can't really go wrong with any restaurant.
Totally agree. We have lots of great food options here, and I'm glad you mentioned the ice cream in Edinburgh. That's my personal favorite. So thank you for all of that. I have another question here actually for Alexis. As as a proctor, can you share any common struggles that students came to you with, or moments of growth in students that you witnessed over this past summer?
Yeah, so we had, as proctors, we have a meeting with our students. We try to do it once, like individually, once at the beginning, again at the end. And during the first meeting, a lot of students were very, very nervous about how they would make friends during the program. And what I think personally is great about this program is everyone's in the same boat. Everyone is looking to meet new people. No one wants to kind of hang out by themselves for the next 2, 4, 7 weeks, however long they're there. So everyone's really eager to meet everyone and make friends. And then something that was really awesome to see was almost every single student, actually, I believe it was every single student who told me that they were really nervous that they weren't going to make any friends. I would then see them a few days later, doing homework with their friends in the library or in the lobby or eating with a big group of people in Annenberg. So that was really awesome. And then almost every one of my students at the very end said that their favorite part of the entire program was the people that they met and meeting new people, especially from all over the world, because there are students from everywhere, which was just really good. It was really nice to see.
Absolutely, Alexis. I totally agree. It's really heartening, especially when you're up for the first time, to be able to make new friends that easily. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. So thank you for sharing that experience, especially from what you witnessed as a proctor. And then I guess as a follow-up question to that, Alexis, what advice would you give high school students who are planning to apply to college, who are wondering how to incorporate the experiences of the summer program in their applications?
Yeah, obviously it's like really nice to show that you can do well in such a rigorous course and that you're very eager to learn. Also, I think something I did was I said that I took workshops on the topics of the co-curriculars that I attended. I think like time management is usually one, and some of the like more specific academic topics that relate to the program you're applying to. I think that's helpful. And then kind of like I said, I think it's a great test run to see how well you will do living on your own. You have so much support, so it's pretty low stakes. Even if you do have some bad habits, there are a lot of people, there are a lot of resources to kind of help you through that. And yeah, during my, sorry, after my in-person program, I then used my senior year to kind of like narrow in on some bad study habits and just habits of like keeping my room clean and things that I wanted to change before I actually got to college.
That's awesome. Thank you, Alexis. Definitely sounds like you took your experience and learned from it in many, many ways. So I think that'll be super helpful for everyone who's attending tonight. Now I'd love to open up a little bit and talk about the connections that you all made during your time here at Harvard Summer School. Do you keep in touch with any of the friends that you made or the instructors you had? And Amy, we haven't heard from you in a while, so I would love to start with you.
Yeah, so from my experience, the main major amazing thing that I got as a connection was an internship with my professor. I got to research for her and help her entire department actually increase the resources for the psychology of diversity. I'm helping her write lectures, write research papers for her, and many other things as well, even helping her edit her new book update. And that was all thanks to like talking to her a lot in my course. And also all of the students that I met outside of the course on the online hangouts that I went to, I follow them on Insta and I still keep in contact with them, asking them how they're doing with their university applications. And lastly, all of my classmates in the course, I connected with them on LinkedIn. And we still have a WhatsApp group chat together where we talk about psychology of diversity updates.
Wonderful. That's great. Thank you, Amy. Daniel, how about you?
Yeah, so as Amy mentioned, I mean, after even during the program, a bunch of me and the friends I made, we have a social media group chat, and we're still up to date. We're still in contact. Even just last week, we were on like a FaceTime call for a couple hours, just catching up on life, seeing how we were all doing after the program. But then away from like different peers of mine, also the faculty I met is unparalleled. So through the Harvard Summer School, I was able to meet an instructor and I reached out to him to do an internship with him, and I'm currently one of his research assistants. So he does a lot with environmental economics, and he does a lot with going to the White House, into the Capitol to propose policy revisions in terms of environmental economics. So I've co-authored 3 academic papers with him, and then one was published in Nature Communication, which is a leading environmental research journal. So if it wasn't for the Harvard Summer School, I mean, it gives students and future students so many amazing opportunities to work with Harvard faculty.
Yeah, that's fantastic thing, especially a great leg up on your future career already. So that's wonderful. And Alexis, how about you? Do you keep in touch with any of your professors or your classmates?
Yeah, I kept in touch with the gender studies instructor throughout high school. And she was actually a presenter for one of the co-curricular activities that I chaperoned over the summer, which was really cool to finally get to meet her in person. And one of my classmates from that online class was actually also a proctor this summer, which was also really cool. And I kept in touch with all of my classmates and my roommates from both programs all throughout high school. And especially the other proctors that I met over the summer, we still talk all the time. It's really nice.
Awesome. It definitely sounds like we're making lifelong friends no matter which program you attend, which is great to hear. I have another popular question for all of you. What advice or information did you wish you had been given before attending your program? Amy, let's start with you.
So I have 2 pieces of advice. My first is that it's best to contribute any idea that you have that is different from everyone else's. So when I was in the class, when everyone was so smart and intelligent, they were giving all of their ideas and what they thought about the subject, and I felt like I didn't really know as much as them. So then I had to find my own way to introduce something new to the discussion. So what I did was, because I was one of the youngest in my online class, I talked about the perspective of high schoolers facing psychology of diversity. And because of that, I was able to, like I said, get an internship with my professor because I showed all of these new ideas. So that's what I would advise you to do when it's hard to talk in class. And also the second thing is that when there's an issue, like how I felt when I was feeling left out by being one of the youngest, I would try to fix it as soon as possible instead of how I created a form, but like I created it near the end of the program. So I would recommend that if there was any problem, you go up and ask about it and try to fix it straight away. So that was my 2 advices.
Thanks, Amy. I think that's helpful. Definitely good to hear that you can make anything a great situation, turning it around right away. Daniel, how about you? Do you have any advice that you'd like to offer?
Yeah, my biggest piece of advice is to put yourself out there. I'm sure many people can attest to it, but obviously going to a summer program away from home for several weeks of duration, it can be like obviously frightening. It's a new environment. You're taking a class while becoming immersed in a new campus. Put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to speak with others. Don't be afraid to even speak with the Harvard instructors. They chose to spend their summer with you. So go interact with them, ask them questions. Don't be afraid to speak up for help, to make new friends. And at the end of the day, everyone's in it together. Everyone doesn't know anyone else. So yeah, my biggest piece of advice is just to make friends with people and then reach out when you need help.
That's great advice, Daniel. Definitely need to remember that everyone's in the same boat as you and definitely wants to be your friend. So that's fantastic. Alexis, do you have any advice you'd like to offer?
Yeah, for the first program that I did, I felt I was a little bit unprepared for just how busy it would be, like the in-person program especially. So I would say just be prepared to hit the ground running as soon as you get there, but it'll be a great time. Also make the most of it. Like I said, my biggest regret after the in-person program was that I didn't feel like I explored Cambridge or Boston enough. And also imposter syndrome. That was a big problem that I had with some of my students over the summer. But just know that you are there for a reason. You were all accepted into the same program. You're all awesome.
Absolutely. I think our Harvard Summer School team can attest that this is a really rigorous application. So if you are here, you deserve to be here. So we're very excited to welcome our new class coming soon. Okay. Our next question will be our last question for the panel. I've had so much fun talking with all of you. I can't believe it's already the end. But let's wrap this up. And Amy, I'll start with you. So if you could, would you do the secondary school program again?
I think I would want to do it, but I would do it in person this time with more business and psychology related courses. And I wanted to do that because in my experience last year, this year actually, I got to study topics I didn't get to study at school. So then I would definitely go again to study more in depth about topics I don't get to in my curriculum. And out of all the other summer classes, I would go to Harvard's again because you meet really accomplished, talented, and bright-minded individuals in one class. And the professors teach you the best they can. And there are so many resources outside of class, like I mentioned as well. And lastly, I would do it again because it would really help on a CV or resume.
Always good reasons for things. Daniel and Alexis, I know you both actually have attended Harvard Summer School multiple times. Can you tell us why you decided to return, and would you recommend doing that to other students? Daniel, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so after taking the pre-college program, I wanted to come back for several reasons. First, it was an amazing experience. Even just living on Harvard's campus for even just 2 weeks, I knew I wanted to come back again. It was great to meet new people from around the world. I used to go to a public school, so everyone, I've known them for many years. We all live in the same town. So to be immersed in a new environment with people from all around the world, from all different countries, it was really enriching just to hear about their life experiences, even outside the classroom. And then even within the classroom, it was academically enriching. It was very challenging, simultaneously receiving college credit, which was a great bonus. And then the course, there's a wide range of course offerings. There's hundreds of classes offered every year at Harvard Summer School. And my school at the time, they didn't offer like niche classes I wanted. And why wait until college if Harvard Summer School offers it now? So that was the main reasons.
That's awesome, Daniel. Definitely see you grabbing the challenge in front of you, which is fantastic. And then Alexis, how about you? Would you do it again? Why did you do it again? Anything like that? Yeah.
Yeah, I saw an ad on Instagram actually for the pre-college program when I was in 8th grade, and I knew that it was something that I really wanted to try to do when I was in high school. So then with the first online program and it had to be online, I was a little bummed out. It was still a really great experience. I really wanted the in-person experience, so I applied again the next year so I could go on campus, and that was also awesome. And I really loved having the opportunity to take such in-depth courses about such specific topics. A lot of the classes are on like very niche topics that you might not even think to have a class about. So it's really cool to have the chance to get to go so in depth on something so specific that you don't really have a chance to do at a high school.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad that you're able to come in person. Yes, in 2021, our pre-college program, unfortunately, due to COVID, had to be online, but it is normally in person. So we are very grateful to be back all the time in person, and I'm glad that you're able to experience that both as a student and then again as a proctor this past summer. Super appreciate that. That's really awesome. Thank you, Alexis, and thank you, Daniel, and thank you, Amy, for sharing your experiences with us tonight. Super appreciate you for being here. And for your great responses to all of our questions. And then thank you as well to all of our attendees, all of you, for being here. So before we go, if we did not get to your question tonight, or if more questions arise, please contact us at inquiry@summer.harvard.edu or call us at 617-495-4024. Make sure to follow us on our social media channels and stay tuned for the webinar recording, which will be sent to your email address within about a week. Or you can access it on the Harvard Summer School YouTube channel. We would also like to invite you all to join us again on November 18th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time for an information session called Everything You Need to Know Before You Apply. We'll explore our program offerings and offer insider tips about successful applications in advance of our application open date of December 2nd this year for summer 2025. So we're so excited for that to happen very soon, and we hope you'll join us then as well. But thank you all so much for joining us this evening, and we hope to see you this summer.